Okay, so I'm here with Associate Professor Kayoko Kurita and Project Assistant Professor Louis Yoshida from the University of Tokyo, and they're based at the Center for Research and Development in Higher Education. So we've just had a very interesting workshop around a teaching portfolio chart. So I've just developed my own here, so you can see there's lots of work going into that. So we just wanted to have a little conversation with Kayoko and Louis about the development of this teaching portfolio chart. So maybe you can tell us about how did you develop this approach?
So first we learned teaching portfolio, but it takes 2.5 days for creation of the teaching portfolio. So I want many people to know the value of the teaching portfolio. So I want to develop the shorter version and opportunity to have experience on reflection by use of teaching portfolio. That's why I developed the one-sheet TP chart.
And do you find that you have a lot of interest from staff at University of Tokyo around this approach?
Unfortunately, not yet. But basically, it is all teachers. It is useful for all teachers. So we usually we provide the workshop for all educators. So many participants come to our university to create the workshop.
Can you maybe just talk through what the steps are for the workshop, what participants do?
So for making the TP chart, so it takes 2.5 hours. So you can start from the responsibility, your teaching responsibility as a practical teaching activities, and then deepen your deep reflection onto the methodology and strategy, and reach at your philosophy by yourselves. A systematically reflection process by stepping the box to box, one by one.
How could I do that? Do you have a template then that you say is in sections, like responsibility? I mean, you could almost translate this into a template that you write into.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are templates, so
Yeah.
there are some structure, so there are some responsibility and also teaching philosophy, and you have we have some structure of creating teaching portfolio. So at first, creating teaching portfolio chart, and after that we have startup sheet.
Okay.
So in this sheet, participants write down their contents of teaching portfolio chart in sentences.
Yes.
And using those starting
a kind of draft of the teaching portfolio.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and they can the participants can brush up the draft of other the startup sheet as a draft during the mentoring one by one, mentee and mentor. So the dialogue brush up the draft 2 teaching portfolio.
Okay, and then that includes also the elements like of the evidence that you're talking
Yes.
about.
Yes.
To bring those in. Yeah. I'd be interested, do you have a copy of that? Could you share?
Yes.
But in Japanese.
Okay.
So right now,
I
there's-
try to translate.
Yeah,
YouTube.
that would be really
Yeah,
useful because I think for me, like if we're looking at, like we were saying, if people want to be using this portfolio then for evidence, to then scaffold that and say, okay, I have this now, but how do I make this into a document?
Yeah.
That's really useful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this tool is really great for reflection, but it's not for the product.
No.
So
that's the next
So
step.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
next step.
yes.
So yes, exactly.
It's good for sharing and clarifying your basic ideas.
And
but-
overview.
Yeah, it is. No, it really is. And I was involved in the process of preparing this teaching portfolio chart. I was a little bit concerned because my teaching is fully online. But so what I was happy with, so for example with the methodology, it looks a lot in the methodology like I just send a lot of emails. Communication, regular communication with emails. It kind of seems boring because a lot of the work is already done for an online program before you deliver it. But what I then found is when I got to the strategy part, that this then aligned really nicely with translating all of these things, the communication, Skyping with students, etc., comes down to creating a community of practice and being responsive to queries, sending out a Google form link and so on. That's about being a responsive teacher. So that to me then was kind of an aha moment. I thought that really makes sense. And then from there I was able to really align that with my teaching philosophy. My teaching philosophy being I want students to feel part of a community of learners, and for me that's really important for the certificate because they're all from different disciplines and they're all experts in their discipline, so they need to learn from each other. I want students to learn from each other. I want to feel like a responsive, flexible, adaptive teacher. I want to create a safe space because particularly in the online people won't share unless they feel safe. And this idea of gifting the learning to the learner. And again, I didn't even think of this until I'd come to these 2 points about my influences. So one big influence for me is my background in English language teaching and this idea that you have teacher talk time and student talk time. So the idea that you decrease your teacher talk time to allow the students to talk kind of has always been in my mind. So then allowing, how do I get the students involved? And then also thinking about teachers who've influenced me. So for example, my kindergarten, my very first teacher was just so passionate about what she does, and also a lecturer that I had in university, a linguistics lecturer who was actually Japanese, but she just had such a passion and an interest for her subject and was also very kind. So I think that also comes down to this community of practice. You're kind of concerned about your students because you want to be kind to your students, like you want to make them feel happy. So that's kind of that's it.
Fantastic.